Okay.
Okay, so good to see everyone. Jen, you want to run through kind of an agenda and we can just open it up maybe at the beginning and say hi to everyone, let everyone say hi?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I would love for everybody to say just a good morning and a where you are in the world, so that everybody can kind of put either a name with a face if they've seen folks before, or just to figure out where everybody is located. And then I don't really have a long agenda. I got a couple of notes from folks that are interested in a little bit more about marketing the course to different areas, and how we market, how they market, how some of you have marketed to the courses that you have facilitated. And then there was a question about prisons and how the course is facilitated in prisons, and whether or not there is a cost associated with that. So we can share a little bit about, Michael can share certainly what we've done with our program, or I can share just a little bit about that. And if anybody else has any information about a prison system in their area that they've potentially worked with. And then Michael is going to show us, we're opening, or going to be opening, a new portal for facilitators to be able to upload their own information and their own bios and pictures and things like that, which will be a beautiful thing for me, because, you know, I'm a little technologically challenged, although I have managed to master that particular task. I'm a little technologically challenged, and so that'll be great, so that you can update. If things change, you'll have access to your own bio information. You can update it at your leisure, and you don't have to either send something to me to change and wait for me to change it or anything like that. So,
and that way they can all be technologically challenged, is what you're saying.
yes. Well, actually, I'm looking at some of them and I know they're not technologically challenged, so I'm going to them for help.
And I want to throw two other things out on the agenda, just as I'm thinking about it. One is the in our ongoing conversations with the Charter for Compassion, we've been talking about, not only we've had great success with these online courses, and many of you are a testament to the fact that we've done these online courses. You've joined those and then become facilitators or in training. But the other thing is, we want to begin to start to get some momentum on the ground in these different communities. And there are people who are facilitators who are here through the charter, and then there are others who are coming from their own different ways of getting here, and there may not be an active charter presence in your location. So one of the things, and maybe towards the end I'll open it up to Marilyn for some thoughts on this, but one of the things I want us to be thinking about over the next few months is creating more on-ground courses. And that could even mean, if there's enough people there and enough interest, and we can get the funding for it, we can even fly in some facilitators if necessary to help augment your, what you have locally. So we've done this in Las Vegas, San Antonio, Atlanta, and we'd love to continue to do this in additional communities. So be thinking about if that might be something you'd want for your community. And if so, we can begin to connect that with the work that we're doing with Marilyn and the rest of the folks with the charter. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I'll just briefly mention that I want to start to put together a kind of a research group that can begin to meet on a regular basis, thinking through what we want to do on research. We've been doing some of that already with UNESCO and our own internal processes, but we have others. We have great resources through our network, like Shivjot's on the call here from India, and she's finishing up her PhD and is going to be doing research around what we're doing. And anyway, it's just something to think about. If not everyone on the call is a researcher, but we want to get that word out and maybe build a group of people who can help us think through that. So without further ado, Jennifer.
Thanks. So if we could do a quick introduction for everybody, and I'll you can start yourselves, or I can just, we've got about 16 folks on the call, so just a quick who you are, where you are in the world, and if you recently facilitated, or are currently facilitating a course. I know we've got some folks that just finished, are finishing, have done some 3-day intensives, so just to see where we're facilitating in the world would be awesome. And because she's the first person on my screen, I'm just going to call out Kristen. If you would be so kind as to share, you're the first person on my screen, Kristen, sorry.
No worries. Kristen Norton, I'm in Atlanta, and I'm still a facilitator in training, so I have not taught. I guess we just finished our class, and but I've yet to teach, so
And Kristen is, yes, she just facilitated her actual 10-week course, but she's almost done with her requirements too. So she's fingers crossed, she's been doing all of her she's been doing diligently her homework every week, folks. So she's not trying to get caught up at the end.
I feel attacked.
Yes. Mara, you're next up on my screen.
Hi, Mara. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mara Burkhardt. I'm in Tucson, Arizona. Normally sunny Tucson. We're getting a rain, so you know how precious that is for us. So yay. Yeah. Wet walk this morning though. And I just finished my first class that I was facilitating, and we finished at the end of October. So just went really well. Small class, but very rich. And we just had a little mini reunion, and everyone, you know, just expressed gratitude for the class. So
excellent.
Thank you guys enough.
Thanks, Mara. Andrea, you are up next on my screen. Oh, I can't hear you, Andrea.
Oh, how about now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm in Medellin, Colombia. My name is Andrea Monsanto. I just finished about 2 weeks ago a training with some teachers. It went very well. It ended up being that they serve very vulnerable communities. So that was a nice thing. And I have 4 trainings coming up in January, all for teachers. So I'm doing mostly 3-day trainings right now. And that can be a little challenging, but you know, it's manageable. So I'm excited.
Yep. Thank you, Andrea. Yes, I was saying Andrea is facilitating all of her stuff in Spanish. So she's got the
She's doing it in Spanish, and she might win the award for the most courses in the shortest period of time. So we've been working closely with her to help her.
Yes. Margarita, it's so nice to see you. You are up next on my screen.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm in Portugal, and I finished one course, and I'm just finishing this week the second one. So it's fresh, and yeah, that's it. Then we talk more later, I suppose.
Excellent. And Margarita is also doing the Portuguese translation. She started it, and I think her first cohort is helping to do some of the translation.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have Portuguese pretty soon.
It really was so sweet. It was them that they thought about it. They managed everything. So they are going to give me, the whole thing, and then I just do the the proofreading and all the vocabulary things must go generally for the whole manual. So but it's a lot of work that they they are doing already, so it's really great.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Margarita.
Yeah.
Kate, you are up next on my screen.
Good morning, or wherever you are, night. I'm in Wisconsin in the States, and it's been a while since I facilitated. I did an online one with the charter, through the charter, and looking forward to doing another one real soon, which is why I'm kind of on the call, so kind of catch up on some things. So nice to see everyone.
Excellent. Thanks, Kate. Mohammed, you are up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mohammed from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and I'm a facilitator in training, almost done, and I'm hoping to facilitate my first one, 10-week workshop starting January.
Yeah, excellent. And Mohammed and Kristen were in the same cohort and are 2 of the folks that diligently did their homework every week. So Mohammed is just literally a couple of days worth of us getting through all the CEs and making sure everything is done and practicum forms, and he's done because he facilitated skill 10. Marilyn, you're on my screen next.
Okay, I'm Marilyn, and on Bainbridge Island, a little bit west of Seattle, about 40 minutes by ferry. And I'm with the Charter for Compassion, and so I'll probably be talking a little bit about that later on. And we have coming up this 2020, we'll have 3 online courses with the charter. And then in addition to that, there'll be and each of those are in 2 cohorts. So actually it looks like 6 classes. And then we have the facilitator training as well.
Yeah.
And let me also interject, since it's not on our agenda, that Marilyn and our good friend that many of you have met, Shane O'Connor, who's heading up the education sector for us, is working with Marilyn, and they're going to be doing several webinars, I think in short webinars, kind of taste of CITs for educators in January timeframe. And then we'll probably add some additional courses for educators specifically. So just another one of the many ways we're working with the charter.
And Sandy, you are up next on my screen.
Hi, Jennifer.
Good to see you.
You too. My name is Sandy, and I'm from Port Alberni on Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. And I am a facilitator and working in the community to try and get it going for myself here. It's a slow go, unfortunately, for me. But I'm so delighted with everybody else being able to get things going. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Shivjat, you are up next on my screen.
Hello all, I'm Shivjot from India. And so I've been using CIT in bits and pieces as per my research project. So I finally submitted my thesis and it's under review. And I sent an email to Michael the other day explaining that I really had a very tough Viva voice, with my examiner, and they asked me all sort of questions like, what is CIT? And from where did you get to know about this? And who gave it? Whose theory is it based upon? And which all psychologists gave it? What is the past, what is, how has it driven? So I was all bombarded with so many questions, but I managed it. Somehow I was able to connect and tell them exactly, but I really look forward to know the theoretical grounds of it. And so I'm also using it in, like, as I said, in bits and pieces, and it's really very effective. Like there is one of a training course that I have developed myself within the field of sports psychology. So I have put a few of the exercises of CIT into that, but I have found that they are really useful when especially the young athletes apply it. So all those who are in the age group of 15, 16, 17, for them it is very easy to adapt. And I have seen a progressive change. So like my research work is for like 3 weeks. So it's a 3 weeks intervention. So I have seen a drastic change. So I'll be sharing soon the results of the study with all of you in the form of research papers. And it has become like, I was actually very surprised to see that actually, the training has come out to be really effective. So yes.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear more about it and your results.
No, they have actually come to be really positive. It is a 3-week study, but they have shown a significant difference within 1 week. So wow. That actually contrasts a lot of sports psychology studies would say that, only 6 months or 1 year training interventions are effective.
Yeah, that's awesome. Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pam, you're on my screen next.
Hello, I'm Pam Lewis. I'm from Houston and with Compassionate Houston here through the charter. And I finished my first 10-week course in November, about a month ago. So I'm really looking forward to doing it again, hopefully in the end of March or maybe mid-March for another 10 weeks. And I think there are at least 3 people from the class who are planning to be in the facilitator training. So that's really good for Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Judy, you are on my screen next. I'm
You
trying to.
might be able to unmute her. You can't do it.
I can't, no. All right, Judy, I'm going to come back.
Yeah, we'll come back to Judy.
Deepika, you are up next on my screen.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Deepika and I'm based in Delhi, and right now I'm extremely cold, so you can see me all covered all. So I am a level 2 facilitator, but I still haven't finished my assignments of level 1 facilitation, which I'm doing. But yes, I've been practicing CIT hearing practice recordings every day for about half an hour to 45 minutes. And I have a colleague, we both share our workstation together. And so morning 9 to 10 a.m., if anybody is passing by from a workstation, he'll see 2 people sitting quietly with headphones with their back to each other. And then after 15, 20 minutes, we look at each other and we have our aha moment of what we've just experienced. So people who are passing by, you know, they just see us quietly sitting and they're taking pictures. The people are trying to distract us, do everything. But yeah, Shankar and I, we are having quite a good time and a lot of understanding, both of us, because of CIT. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Deepika.
I should mention, by the way, that Shankar, who Deepika was just talking about, Shankar and Shane are at the very moment, I think, in the final throes of a 3-day training in the south of India for a group of 60 educators. So Shane's in India for about 2 weeks doing various different things with UNESCO MGIP.
Yep. Busy. Anum, you are up on my screen.
Hello everyone. First of all, I'm sorry I don't have my webcam on. My quality of camera is terrible, so I thought I'd save you all the trouble. I am also currently in New Delhi, India, much like Deepika. We actually did the CIT course together earlier this summer. I was lucky enough to find it through the Charter for Compassion through Maryland, which I'm still so grateful about. Soon after that, I was able to participate in the CIT facilitator training. However, unfortunately, I got off to a bit of a late start with my requirements, but I'm kind of full swing in it now. So I completely resonate with what Deepika just said about doing practices every day. For me, it's usually at night. So I find it quite interesting to end my day that way. And I'm hopeful that I finish it soon so I can start figuring out the next steps of perhaps doing some courses and facilitating some. So that's currently where I am. And this is the first time I'm sitting in for one of these calls. So I'm actually super excited to be here right now.
We're excited that you're here too, Anu. I think it's Lauren. I've renamed her Lauren. I'm hoping that the 917 phone number is Lauren. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I hung up from the phone, I think, and now I'm on this. But I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and I just finished one class that I was co-facilitating with a host of different people that we, and I don't know if Michael has it in front of him, just got a really fabulous recommendation, you know, post class note. And then there's another class that we are finishing tomorrow. And then one more class that I'm co-facilitating that meets monthly. So that's also tomorrow until 5. And then I have a couple of proposals that are outstanding. And, you know, I know with, you know, with the holidays, it will probably be hard to get anything concrete, but hoping for January to have some, you know, answers and maybe some start dates on a few things.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just put in that testimonial we received into the chat box so everyone could see it.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you. Testimonial was the word that was not coming to me.
Thank you. Monaco, I don't know if you have the ability to tell us a little bit about where you are and where you are in the process. All right. Well, so Monaco may be joining us from work. I'm not sure. So Monaco is a facilitator in training, and she is on campus at Life University in Marietta, Georgia. So she'll hopefully be working her way through the process shortly. Judy, yay!
Yay! I restarted. I'm Judy, and I am in in Massachusetts, in the U.S., and Chelmsford, which is just about 10 minutes away from New Hampshire. So up there. And I am nearing the end of facilitating my first course. Tonight is Skill 7. We had to cancel last Mondays because of a snowstorm. So there's that. And it's going well. Our numbers have decreased a bit. A couple of the people have gotten jobs and haven't been able to get to the class, but we have a strong core group, and one of the members in the last couple weeks, the 30-year-old man who's living in a sober house, he is just recently re-entered from incarceration, and he said that he feels that it's a privilege to be in the class. A privilege.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I felt privileged by him saying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going well. It's going good.
Excellent. Thank you. And Piali, I know you just joined us, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're just doing a quick introduction, who you are and where you are in the world, if you have the ability to unmute and share that with us.
Hi, this is Piali, and I'm joining from a place called Noida, which is very close to New Delhi, which is the capital of India. And I'm just trying to get a quiet corner because my daughter is like eyeing me, like, what are you doing with the phone? So that's it. And
Good to hear you, Piali. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
can you see?
Oh, hey, sweetheart. Hi.
So cute.
That's awesome. Thank you, Piali.
So that's what is it with me now? Yeah. I'm looking forward to the call. Sorry for joining in late.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Let me say, Piali is a facilitator in training as well. She's working through her requirements right now. So excellent. And I think we have one more individual, and I have a phone number. I don't have a name. I'm so sorry. We have 949. Nope. All right. Well, I'll try to find a number, a name to connect with that number.
You didn't forget Rebecca, did you?
No, she was going to be next.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we have Akash. Akash, were you the 949 number? No?
Sorry, not.
Can you do a quick intro, Akash?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Hi, everyone. My name is Akash, and I'm from Mumbai, India. And currently, I'm part of the training of CIT. And like I had done the introductory course at a youth conference that had happened in New Delhi a couple of months ago. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Akash. And of course, last but not least, Rebecca, if you could please share.
Well, okay. Rebecca Koch. I'm at Life University in Metro Atlanta. I said earlier when Jennifer was talking about people getting their homework done right away that I felt attacked because I did not do that. I eventually got it done, thankfully. And now I get to read other people's homework. So it's kind of working out. We just finished a CIT class and a facilitator class online last couple of weeks ago. We're going to start another one on campus, hopefully get some more Life University folks into CIT and understanding what it is and since it fits so well with the university's values, and that'll start in January. Michael has agreed to be part of a bit of a stealth diversity and inclusion couple of presentations at our university faculty and staff development program for the people who hear diversity and tune out. Then we're going to come at them with some biases and common humanity and things like that, and see if that makes some inroads. And then Jennifer and I are diligently working on getting a facilitator on the ground at the university in July. So I feel like we did a pretty good job. Shane and Kaylee and I, the last class we finished up, getting people fired up to come to Atlanta to do their facilitator training. So if you know of anybody who's interested in that, let Jennifer or me know, and hopefully we'll get that going.
Excellent. Thank you. And I think our 949 number is Sandy Hart in Las Vegas, but she's unmuted, but we can't hear her. So I don't know. Can you
hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, hi. Good morning, everybody. Hi. Yeah, it's so good to be heard. Good morning, and I'm sorry I've joined a little late, but it's good to hear everyone's voices. Quick little check-in. I thank you, Jennifer, for introducing me to Thomas from the Chilean Project. We had a great conversation about the work in the prisons, and looking forward to kind of continuing that conversation. And I have a couple of proposals out. It's just been a slow go for me here, getting acclimated into the community and everything, but I'm really anxious to get some workshops going here.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, Sandy relocated recently to the Las Vegas area, so it's learning new community and getting plugged into the area on the ground. So, and the Thomas that she's referring to is Thomas Sabizak, who is the coordinator of the Shalom program at Life, and that is our degree program in one of the women's prisons here in the Atlanta area.
And our second graduation is coming up in February. So.
Oh, do we have a date? Because I'd like to come down for that.
Yeah, I know. I think it's February 13th, but nothing is set in stone yet.
Okay, keep me posted. So that's a great segue into one of the questions that we had from one of our facilitators about facilitating in prisons. And I mean, Michael can certainly speak to this more eloquently, but our current program in the women's prison is through our degree program. So it's facilitated as a course for the women who are getting their degrees. But we also have multiple trained facilitators it's Arendelle, Lee Arendelle Women's Prison. And so we have a lot of trained facilitators, and those facilitators are facilitating for their colleagues at Arendelle. So they've been certified, and now they are teaching the courses and facilitating the courses in the prisons. And at Phillips, certainly if you would like to add to that, Michael, but then at Phillips, you know more about the program there than I do.
Yeah, what's happening at Phillips is really cool. But in both the women's prison and the men's prison have unique characteristics that I think are instructive for us as we think about how to bring this to those types of environments. So in the case of the men's prison, what we've been able to do is over a 2-year period, through relationships there, through the counseling office, in that situation, and in many situations, they're looking for programming. Unfortunately, they're looking for programming they don't have to pay for. And so but we had people who were volunteering primarily through Compassion at Atlanta that were willing to go up and do the training of the CIT trainings on the ground through the counseling department. And what that then we were able to do there is then not only were we able to do the training, but then we got people interested in becoming facilitators. We were able to do facilitator trainings. Now what's happened is the facilitators that are on the ground there who are incarcerated men are able to run the program basically on their own. And we're actually at the point now where the counseling department has the confidence in those guys, and they have the confidence in themselves to run trainings on their own. And we're just at that point now. They've already run trainings on their own in certain cases, and we've but we've come back and done our own trainings. And then, so we've been continuing to build facilitators there and such. But at the end of the day, that the important thing now is, like, after 2 years, we're finally at the point where they can just do it on their own. And they're primarily doing that in the reentry dorm and the faith and character dorm. So that's done wonders in that facility. At Arendelle, because we had a local presence there, we actually have a whole program there. That made it very easy. And a lot of the students there became facilitators. They all had to take CIT as part of their program, but then they were all very interested in becoming facilitators. So not only do we have a whole slew of facilitators there, but I think Rebecca and Jennifer and a couple others are going to go up there not too long and do another facilitator training. But that has had an infectious impact on the institution, because it's not just within our program. They've then gone out as ambassadors to try to bring this to other areas of the prison. And I might have mentioned this on the last call, but about a month and a half ago, I went up for a graduation of the domestic violence program that has nothing to do with our program there. But now, as one part of the domestic violence program there, CIT is a requirement. So the person in the counseling office who runs that program went through CIT with one of our facilitators. She's now a graduate, and they've now required it of all of the people in that program. So at that place, at that facility, we have people going through the course as part of our program. We have people coming in just on the general campus taking that, and then we have it as a required part also of the domestic violence program. So we've seen a lot of success in both of those facilities in that way, where they've kind of become a place where they're self-sustaining now.
Thank you, Michael. We had one other question before we move into some of the other stuff on the agenda. We had one other question regarding marketing. And so there are some, just as a reminder, there are some marketing materials on the website. So if you go into the CIT website and you go into the facilitator login area, there's a section of information for marketing, and there's a flyer that you can edit and things like that. But are there other strategies that have been effective for the facilitators who are facilitating courses? Are there strategies that have been effective in marketing your program or your courses that you can share or are willing to share?
Yes, I want to share.
Thanks, Andrea.
So what I've been doing is I've been calling the schools, and I've been offering a free, mini session. It's about 1 to 2 hours, and it's mostly for the parents. So I took different areas of the first series, and it's kind of a way to get, in the door. And then after I do that, I kind of try to make an appointment to see the director of the school or the psychologist. And it's been a very effective strategy, because it's a free introductory session. So most of them say yes. And then after they hear what I have to say for that 1 to 2 hours, they want to learn more, and they're more open to doing the full training. So that's been very effective. I've developed a proposal with, Jennifer's help. It's very well thought out, very well organized. So if anyone would like to see it, I'm willing to share it. It's in Spanish, but with Google Translate, it's pretty easy to translate it. And so those 2 things I wanted to share.
Thank you, Andrea.
Other marketing strategies that you have used, that you are using? Piali, I see you have a hand up.
It's not, I haven't used it for CIT, but I can just share something where we have done something like similar for a course in the organization I was working before, which was with children. So it was a resiliency program for like the children. So I was not a part of the program, but I've seen what my colleagues used to do. So they had a lot of small videos of consented videos of children and teachers and parents, who have been through the program. And I think that itself, when you're sending out as a when they used to send out to other schools and organization for as a marketing, like we can come and do it. So they used to send this video links also. So how people have, after going through the program, what they have felt or how the children feel about it. So I think that if something is, if it can be done, if in CIT with, consented participants who have gone through it, they can have testimony of the, after going through CIT, what they feel.
Thank you, Piali. We do have some written testimonials. They're probably not as effective as the videos that Piali was referring to, but we do have some written testimonials that, of course, you can use as well. I think they've been, I don't even think this is a word, but I'm gonna co-opt one of my colleagues. She makes up her own words all the time. Anonymized. The anonymity is intact, so those testimonials can be used as well.
Yeah, we have those, and I'm going to update them with some more recent ones. And then, of course, as we get more research, that's going to certainly help. One of the things, and this is something I can actually, I'll see if I can post this onto our website. One of the things I found really powerful, and I don't know if this is something I've shared in here before, but one of the schools that Lauren's working in, actually, it was one of those situations where the head of the middle school or the lower school, it's just I think K through 4 or maybe 1 through 4 grades, all of their faculty are going through the program, and it was something that was decided upon by the head of the lower school. And so it was not a voluntary thing, it was a voluntold kind of thing. So the school counselor, who's a huge proponent of CIT, was very concerned that these faculty would come in and be a little bit, not totally open to the program. So she asked us over the summer if we would come in during one of the teacher work days to do a short presentation on what we were going to be doing during the school year. And we only had 1 hour. And what we essentially did was, other than give just a broad overview, which we actually waited for till the end, excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
We didn't even tell them what CIT was until the end. What we started with was, this is what we call the resilient zone. And this is what it means to be knocked up high. And this is what it means to be knocked down low. And, I experienced that. Does anyone here experience that? And, everyone's hands go up and everyone has a knowing look on their face, of course. So then once we knew that they understood that, we gave out a reflective writing and mindful dialogue page, which is, I was just looking for it on my computer, but I can post it. But basically what it said was, can you think of a time when you were in a school situation when you could have been knocked out of your resilient zone, but you were able to maintain it? And describe that situation. What would have happened if you had gone out of your resilient zone? And then can you think of a time when you might have, been able to stay in your resilient zone, but you went out? And then think about what would have happened if you had stayed in. And then, so anyway, a series of questions about personalizing that concept to the environment that they're in. And then they did a mindful dialogue. And in the mindful dialogue, you'll notice we don't have them share those more embarrassing moments. We have them share the resiliency moments, the moments where they were able to. But the ultimate question is, how would your life be different if you had a greater ability to do that? And by the end of that session, there was not a person in the room that wasn't excited about doing the course because they could immediately see the benefit of it. So that's something I can post, and you can reword those questions based on your particular environment. But I think giving them in that opportunity a chance to really contemplate on why this would be meaningful to them will help get buy-in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can I say something real quick?
Please, Andrea.
I'm just getting a lot of private emails, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with them. So if anyone wants help, please send me an email with what you need, and I'll put my email address in the chat.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, Michael, do you want to share with us the new portal?
Yes, we are in the process. We're still working on this to kind of perfect it. But the idea was, a number of people had said that, number one, they want to have a little bit more in their bio. They want to be able to post a picture. They want to maybe add a link to other work that they're doing, things like that. And so what we wanted to do was create a way in which you guys could come in and, through the facilitator login, manage your own bio within certain limitations. And what I'll do is, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be sending out an email to all of you to let you know that this site is open. And then we'll give you 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. Obviously the holidays are in there, so enough time to enter your information, and then we'll ultimately switch to this system. So just as a quick survey of what we're talking about here. So there'll be a link that'll enable you to go to a place where you can, you know, say, put in your information. So here, United States, region is Georgia, my email address, I'm a level 2 facilitator. And then there's like a little window here where you can actually, it might look daunting because it's like an HTML editor, but really it just works like a word processor. And you would type in some information about yourself. Could it be a couple paragraphs? You can insert links. So if you click on that button, it'll enable you to put a URL to say other work that you're doing or websites that you have. And then you'll have the opportunity to upload a picture down here. And it's got to be a particular limitations on what that would be. It's got to be square, and it's got to be only a certain amount of pixels and stuff like that. But you'll be able to upload that. And then once you've uploaded that, it will get added to this facilitator directory. And this is going to replace the old facilitator directory. And here, the idea, because we're at a point now where we're soon going to have over 100 facilitators, which is a wonderful thing. And they're scattered all around the world. So the idea would be that people could come in here and search for a location. They could search for a particular name. They could click on these if they're looking for a level 2 facilitator versus a level 1. They could switch how these things are, how they're sorted. Thank you. I was just noticing one of them dropped off, but anyway. And then what you're going to be able to do is then when somebody clicks into it, and just to make sure it works, this is actually, you'll see that you'll have your own little page. It's not really your own page. All of them will be on here, but the idea will be that it'll link directly to your bio. And this will enable you to have people click on what you're doing. You can list, you can constantly update it with courses that you're going to be teaching, things like that. So people can stay up to date with what you're doing. Any questions on that before? And the idea is that we're going to be, there's still a couple of tweaks, a couple little bugs I'm trying to have worked out on this thing, but that's kind of the idea of what we're shooting for, is so that it's a much more interactive process and gives you a lot more flexibility.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael.
Sure.
Do we want to have you and/or Marilyn share some information about connecting to the charter and how we can do some training hubs in different areas and what that might look like and what your goals are?
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't know if Marilyn, you want to start and just say
Yeah, I certainly. There are a number of people who are on this program today where they're connected to a charter regionally. And so what we're trying to do is to make certain that we have a number of people geographically located. Like, for example, in Texas, probably at this point, we have most of our facilitators that have gone through in Texas. And we have a number of growing cities. And one of the things about the charter is the fact that we network primarily. And so, for example, and Andrea, in Colombia, we've been now talking with UNESCO, the Learning Cities program, and I think that you probably are in touch with them as well. And so we're trying to, wherever there are learning cities, to try and invite ourselves or to be invited for compassionate city initiatives and vice versa. So as Michael stated in the beginning, there are a couple things happening. One is that we are trying to do a lot more on the ground so that we can be assured that we're developing trainers in specific areas. So far for next year, we more than likely will have a session at Wake Forest University in the States. And that's probably for many people on here, the thought about approaching people through various departments. Ironically, the Wake Forest we were approached by the legal department and medical school. And so it doesn't have to be that you go to the whole university, but you might think about going to a specific department like the education department. And that's something that Shane and I have been working on. Shane primarily is really going out and introducing CIT by small workshops with schools and school systems, not necessarily a community-based approach. So that's one of the things that are happening. And we'd really like not only to use trainers, obviously, who are from the Charter for Compassion, but certainly any trainers that have the certification, so that if we have a request to go to a specific city, that we know that there are trainers nearby, even if they're not associated with the Charter.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marilyn. Any questions on that from anyone? I think what we're going to be doing over the next couple of months together is kind of laying out that strategy. The online strategies worked really well, and now we want to take it to the ground a little bit more intentionally. And so obviously we'll keep everyone, all of our facilitators in the loop on that, and make sure that there are good opportunities for you all to plug into that.
We might want to say also that with the UNESCO piece that we did in India with the Mahatma Gandhi Education Institute program, we did 3 weeks online, which was really wonderful. And I think that, though when we came together in India, people came from 27 countries, but that approach of maybe starting online and doing, maybe as many as 6-7 skills, and then bringing people together is really, I think, a wonderful model.
It is, and it's actually something I just got off another potential opportunity, but we got off a call last week through one of our facilitators who was pitching this as an idea for the Foundation for Jewish Camping, where there's camps all over the North America primarily, and they want to use CIT as a way of training staff and eventually some of the kids. And that's exactly what they're thinking of. They're thinking of, in their model, they're thinking maybe we do a one-day kickoff in Atlanta or someplace like that, and then do the last 6 skills online. But that way you kind of get the best of both. So that's a great way to be thinking about it, I think.
Other thoughts, comments, anything before we move? Because I'd like Marilyn and or Michael or me to talk a little bit about the webinars for the educators that we're working on.
I have a question.
Yes, Andrea.
So is it okay to teach CIT to like high school students who are not 18 years old yet? Or how do we handle that?
Yeah, it just depends on the kids themselves and how you feel about it and want to handle it. What we've had success in my limited experience of working with some high school students on this, and I've even done it with middle schoolers, 8th graders primarily, that happen to be they happen to be in my son's grade. So these were my son's school, so it was an easy entree. But yeah, we broke it down and just went much more slowly. So we didn't cover an entire skill. We spent like 4 weeks on skill 1, but I found that they really grasped the material very well and were able to incorporate it and understand the benefits of it. So.
But I see that the consent asks people to sign, of course, and they have to say that they're 18 years old or older. So how do we handle that?
You'd probably have to get a parent to sign the consent form for that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Michael, I was just going to say that one other thing that the Charter is working on is trying to get certification in various states. Right now, we have just worked in the state of California to get certification and licensing, so that we'll try and bring CIT into that mix. They've accepted 4 of our courses so far from our Education Institute. And so it would be a very big thing for us to make that bridge into the associations. So with people who are in countries and states where certification is really important for teachers or advanced law units or healthcare, this is an area where, you know, we're just starting to scratch the surface, so that, you know, this might be something that you would want to think about locally wherever you are.
Judy, I think you had something to share.
Yeah, that just prompted me to remember that I was talking about CIT with my daughter and some of her friends, all of whom are social workers. And they did mention, are there CEUs? If you offered CEUs, people would be jumping at this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just reminded me of that.
Yeah, it is on the radar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm going to just jump in and share this. So different organizations have different bodies that approve CEUs. So if you know of or work with an organization that approves CEUs for a specific, for example, social workers, teachers, educators, they're all over the place. So if you know some organizations that are those bodies that would approve CEUs, let us know, because we can certainly reach out to them. I think that's one of the things Marilyn was referring to, is the Charter Education Institute is working with the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists to get approval for CEUs. So that's one organization that if we can work with them, absolutely, because then that's working with a whole body for CEUs versus trying to get, you know, this approved here and this approved here and this approved here. It's much easier if there's a large network to work with to approve those CEUs.
She and her friends told me the organization to contact, so I'll check with them.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you could get that information to us, that would be great. It's a long, arduous process in every state. It's taken us well over a year to get this set up, but there are 90,000 counselors in California alone.
Yeah. Shivja, I see your hand up.
In India, we actually, when you practice as a sports psychologist, the basic requirement is that you need to have a PhD with the expertise in this area. But as per the American Psychological Association, they do have certain divisions. So like if CIT is used in any of the division, for example, if I use it, so tomorrow when I practice as a CIT practitioner, there are certain points that are added to the profile of when you register to APA. So like if I'm a registered student with APA and if I conduct CIT using some sort of a sports model, then that certification program will fetch me points. But we still not have that system. And I think if CIT level 1 or level 2, the courses, if they bear any sort of a, the scoring system, that would add on to the practitioner's profile. So I'm not sure how that could be done, but that is done in the field. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and I think once we have, hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll have the certification from CAMPT, the California Association, and I think that will then enable us to go to others, because for that we're going to have to implement some assessments and things like that along the way, and that will create a kind of a model and a momentum in terms of that whole area that we'll be able to go to others and say, hey, we've already been certified by this body.
Do we want to talk about the webinars for educators as possible upcoming opportunities?
I know that I should be prepared to answer that, but I'm I'm going to plead. Shane is in India. No, we've been working on this, and we've been throwing around doing some of it in person, perhaps in the UK as a starting point. But we are definitely going to do it online. I don't think it's going to be January, as Michael enthusiastically announced. I think it's going to be a little bit later. And we'll do it in several different ways. Shane has been working on the ground, and we have the opportunity of marketing to our own membership. And we have a number of different schools, for example, who are compassionate schools, and then we have educational organizations as well. So we will be offering, Shane and I had talked about April and May, but maybe, we'll be able to get our act together a little sooner. But we do need marketing time to let people know when this will happen. And it won't be the full CIT, it'll be a taste of CIT, probably 2-hour sessions as introduction. And hopefully we'll be able to do it in Spanish, Andrea, and as well as in English.
Excellent.
As another little aside to that, we do have a call scheduled on the 16th of December to begin talking about translations, and particularly we're going to start with talking about the Spanish translation, but how to kind of make sure we have a whole comprehensive program around translations and how we manage that. Because right now we have these wonderful versions that are being created, Portuguese and German and Spanish, and just trying to figure out how we get our arms around that. And we're going to start looking at the Spanish language version first, since that's the one where we've probably got most of the course already developed in that area.
I think that's all of our agenda items, Michael, unless I've missed something. I think that's all of our agenda.
The only other thing I was going to mention is the idea of research. And so what I'm going to be doing is hopefully starting, if anyone might be interested, to let me know. But several people in the area of research, academic research and psychology and in other areas, social emotional learning, things like that, have expressed interest around research for CIT, and we really need to build kind of a program around that. One of the things that we're trying to do, although we haven't spent a lot of time doing this, is finding some funding that would enable us to bring on somebody, whether it's a postdoc or somebody who would spend some of their time helping us build a research program. And but at the beginning, I thought it would be good for us to start to gather together the people who are interested in that area, and maybe we could meet on a maybe once a month or something in the beginning, just to think about how we pull that program together. But ultimately we'll require some funding to be able to do it. The good news is I think it'll accelerate the program forward for everybody. So we just got to start thinking about how we do that. That's all I got.
Okay.
I have a question, Michael.
Sure.
Okay, it's about skills 6, which is forgiveness and gratitude. Okay, so for one of the practices, the Nikon practice, there's I'm a little bit confused because, like, if you look at the training manual, it talks about some questions that they have to ask before. What did you receive from this person those years? What did I give back to this person? Do we have to do that first and then the counting of hours? Because I don't think we did it like that when I took the course.
No, I'll go back and look at that in the facilitator guide. I think that is there as not every exercise in the facilitator guide is something that you have to know, or you have to not know, but you have to actually do in every session. And so I think that's an alternative if you want to help guide people through the whole practice. What we typically do is we just do the mindful dialogue and reflective writing, which is just the counting of hours. So that's the one I would recommend.
Awesome, thank you.
So before we say goodbye, Andrea, can you send me the proposal that you volunteered to share? Because I've gotten some questions for it too. It will be in Spanish, but I'm certain that I can plug it into Google Translate or have somebody work with me to do a translation for those of us who don't speak Spanish fluently, or with any kind of skill. So I will, if Andrea is willing to share that, I will have that as well, and I can also share that with folks. And Andrea, I did have a question for, do you have an outline for the Taste of Free session that you do, that you are willing to share as well?
That's great.
That you would be able to share with me?
It's actually a PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, but again, it's in Spanish. So
I'm willing to do some translation. If you're willing to share, because you created that, I'm willing to do some translation. And then of course, credit would go to you for creating the PowerPoint. So
sure, no problem. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. All right. Now we have not yet picked a date for the January calls, although we did get off track a little bit, but we tried to do the second Monday of the month for our monthly check-in calls. So you can kind of tentatively put that on your calendar for the second Monday of each month. And then we will probably be shifting our times every month, every 1 to 2 months next quarter or next year, instead of doing 3 months, because then we could potentially lose folks for 3 months. If they're, for example, our folks in India, this time works well for them, but it doesn't work well for some of our folks in Australia, New Zealand, that part of the world. So we're trying to get everybody, which does not happen. So we'll probably rotate the calls on a more regular basis versus the 3 months. However, the calls are recorded and then uploaded to the website. So if you do miss something, please feel free to go to the website and you can go back and look at all of the calls that we've done up to this point. So if you need anything, you certainly, you can always email me, but you can always go back and look at some of the feedback and information that some of our colleagues in other parts of the world have shared. So that's always an option.
And I think starting with this month, I'm really committed to actually listing on there what was covered in the call, so that people, if they're interested, can go and figure out which videos they really want to watch. But we'll see. I won't overly commit to that, since we got a lot of other things on our plate. Anyway, wonderful seeing everybody. I'm so glad we had such a great participation, and good luck with your courses. And we are here to support you in any way we can, I hope. So reach out if you need us.
Yes, and you'll be hearing from us for information for 2020. So and hopefully getting launched in 2020 in January as well, the alumni calls. So folks who have participated in CIT and maybe don't want to do facilitator training, but still want to be connected, we're going to hopefully have a monthly check-in call in different parts of the world for those folks as well. And we've reached out to a couple of folks to maybe facilitate in different parts of the world in different time zones. So we'll be reaching out with some more information, and of course, an outline for what January would look like. January would be skill 1, just as a reminder. So for those of you who celebrate holidays coming up, we've got some holidays coming up. For those of you who celebrate, please enjoy them and have fun with your family and friends. And we will look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Have a wonderful new year.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.